three things I think in a portfolio, if you're gonna be more active than inactive or passive. When it comes to position size, for me it's 30 or 40 stocks, fill in the blank with whatever number you like. The position sizes, well, and I can go, if you want me to walk you through what's a 1, what's a 4, what's a 5, but 1 to 5 is my personal range. Either way, just have a minimum and a max. I'm not tracking the S&P sector allocations, I am watching them. And the number one reason, well, say 1 and 1A. 1 is tech is like 32% of the S&P 500 now. No way you're gonna find enough good dividend stocks unless you decide you're gonna own big chunks of them, which I don't wanna do. Okay, so you can find a Texas Instruments, an IBM, which is very overvalued. There's Cisco with a C, not an S. I mean, there's a little, coffee clutch of those. Okay, Intel used to be part of that list, no more. So you can find them, but you're not going to get to 30%. So one of the things I do to manage risk is not just downside risk. Well, if the market's all NASDAQ all the time, that's going to be a bit of a challenge and for me to not get my fair share, like I said in the previous slide. So I'm very wary of that. The other thing is, if you own basic material stocks, if you own utilities, if you own REITs or energy, those four sectors combined, I think are like less than 10% of the S&P 500. But there's a lot of good dividend there. Okay, so you want to just make sure. I mean, there was a point earlier this year where REITs and utilities, they weren't my whole portfolio, but they were a pretty big chunk of it. Okay, the whole thing. I think they talked about this in another session where utilities all of a sudden were mistaken to be like incredible AI plays. All right, that was great. It showed in my charts. I didn't know why, but it worked out. But you're probably not going to walk around with 25-30% utility stocks all the time unless you're one of the specialists in that. So, look, the yield versus the upside is always sort of a balancing act. I add yield ETFs to the portfolio and I do some options work in order to kind of create a all-weather portfolio. The key one in here I want you to understand, because it's pretty factual, but in the quarterly cycle, there are 5 things that we know. Price is going to change, dividend it can be earned on a certain date, results are going to come out, macro picture is going to change, and people are going to react to news. So why not take advantage of that through more of a tactical rotation? And just little things like, hey, what the stocks that I track, this is not a current list, but a lot of them are still there. I know exactly when they're going to be paying, or at least down to probably a week or two, because they pay around the same time every quarter. Same with earnings. You can forecast this stuff and think of it as, okay, remember the first thing I showed for those of you who were here, okay? I own 1%. Oh, there's a reason in my process. Now I'm going to up it to 3%. Oh, now I'm going to up it to 5. Now I'm going to knock down to 3, maybe even down to 1. In a volatile year like this, volatile the upside, but I'm willing to do that.